Okay, I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. So happy to be in this space with you. Whether you're here, showing up today, live, or going to watch the replay, we get to hang out here today, have some fun, do some earth embodiment practice, play with the energy of spring. Just giving us a moment to settle in for the live call. I'm just going to give us a minute for people to trickle in as we do this. I thought I'd just talk a little bit about sort of what's happening on the greater platforms with these circles. You might be new here, you might not, but just making sure we're all on the same page. This is our second live call here on YouTube. I've been creating these videos on YouTube for a long time, just kind of sitting down here, hitting record, speaking what wants to be spoken. And I got a really big hit last month that it's time to open these up to you guys. Again, whether you show up live, whether you're watching the replay, but still an opportunity to join me live, to come hang out with me here in the chat. I know the first time we did this a couple weeks ago, we had a wonderful, lively chat going, and it was so much fun. Not just having this be like me on one side of the camera, just kind of talking at you guys, but more of that interaction. And so I'm here creating more spaces for that. And there's two ways I'm doing that. The first is, as is happening here, coming to you live on YouTube. And the other way that's going to begin coming in April, I believe I have a date set for April 1st for our first live Zoom call. The vision here is to bring forth a full circle. A circle is a space where we can hang out, in this case on Zoom, and do this all together. Do this in circle, in community, on Zoom, where I can do what we're going to do today, guide you through meditations, through earth embodiment activations, do all the things we do here on this platform, a whole lot of grounding, right? If you know me, you know that I love, love, love to guide us into grounding. I think it's one of the most important things we can be doing during these times, right? These times, what's happening right now, the intense, intense chaos of the world, but also, just the task of this century. We've been following this kind of human timeline where we've been on these paths that are incredible, remarkable, right? Thinking about just the innovations that have happened in technology. It's brought so much into our world. And also, as you probably all know, it's been a path, this trajectory that humanity has taken that has ungrounded us, that has literally taken us out of our bodies, right? Has brought us out of our bodies so that we live up in our heads. We're living life up in our heads. And from that space, being kind of taken outside of ourselves, particularly through technology, right? Watching screens, being on computers, right? Just all the ways that sort of life takes it, and feel into this, right? I'm kind of doing this like down from our bodies up into our heads and like out into the world, out into all the technology, all the marketing that's just trying to take your attention. And there's some good in that. There's a whole lot of good in this technological world we've created. But this imbalance, right? This imbalance has stripped us out of this grounded embodied state. So much of what we're here to do, and we're going to be doing this today, we do this every day, right, is to ground in, feeling into this, grounding in. And as I say this, feeling down into your sits bones, right? If you're seated, your sits bones in connection to the chair, maybe it's your feet on the floor, is breathing deeply into self, descending down into your body, feeling into your body, being present in and as your body, grounded, centered. And from this space, right, grounded into the physical nature that we are, then we can move through life skillfully. We can move through life, sure, choosing to watch something on a screen or sitting down to do work on a computer, or heck, maybe even scrolling through Instagram. We can do that. We can engage with technology. We can engage with the world. We can do it while we're grounded. And when we're grounded, we can actually be present, tuned in to what it is skillful to be doing. For example, I really enjoy Instagram. Obviously it has a million problems, right? But there is benefit there. And what I like to do is intentionally move into that space, scroll through the accounts that I know bring value. And then what often happens, because social media is addicting, right? It's designed to take my attention, is that I get pulled out of my body, right? And I start to get pulled out of my body. But because I'm tuned into my body, I notice when it happens. I start to feel kind of icky, right? Maybe, it's like this literally feeling of being pulled up and out of my body. It's an ungrounding. And that then becomes my cue. Okay, it's time to get off of Instagram. Go do something else. Go do something that is grounding. Whew, didn't necessarily plan on that whole talk to start us off today, but for whatever reason, that wanted to be here. Just a little conversation on grounding, as we focus today on our theme here, on our theme that is welcoming spring. I was supposed to bring this to you last week on the spring equinox, but we had roofers coming in and holding space like this while there is hammering and drilling, shaking the whole house is not quite skillful. So I moved this welcoming to spring today, which is perfect because we're still just officially entering the spring season. If you're like me, then you've felt like you've been in spring for a long time. Here in northern New Mexico, we got such a poor winter, and so it's kind of felt like spring all winter long. But now we're at a time where, the grass is coming up, and saw my first flowers the other day, and just feeling into that energy of spring, just feeling into that emergence of spring. Like, what are the cues for you that let you know, okay, spring is here? Or maybe you walk outside and there's a warmth. There's a warmth that you can feel. Maybe it's walking down the street and seeing flowers or other plants kind of poking up through the earth. So just feeling into like, what are those cues from the earth that tell you it is spring? And I'm going to pointing us to those, oh, shall I call it more joyful moments, like that spark of life. It's that first emergence of life. Yes, spring is here. Life is emerging forth from the earth. I know often, like, I love talking about spring. I love talking about every season because in any one season, there's just so many layers, right? So we can talk to spring. Also, in terms of chaos, I like to speak to chaos as such a spring theme, especially here in northern New Mexico. It's like one day it's winter and it'll dump like a foot of snow. And then the next day the sun comes out and it all just melts away. And then we might have like 4 warm days, and then this horrific wind will come in. And then, maybe it snows again. And it's just this time of such unpredictability, right? In this chaos theme. Again, this chaos theme that's so loud in our world right now. Right? We live in a world that's so unpredictable, that's so chaotic right now. And what that does is it ungrounds us, right? It ungrounds us when we, can't sit here, sort of look ahead, know what's going to happen, be able to predict what's going to happen. That can pull us into chaos, into anxiety, pull us out of our grounding. And what spring teaches in, one of its many gifts is how we can stay grounded even within chaos. I filmed this whole little kind of goofy conversation and practice last year when I was out on the trails and the winds were just horrible. Wind being such this ungrounding energy, right? Such this chaotic energy. But there's this practice, right? There's this practice of going out in the wind, which isn't necessarily the most pleasant thing to do, but this powerful practice where you can go out into the wind, go walk, go hike. In my case, it's often trail running. But the point is get your feet on the earth, and it works to, be on a sidewalk or asphalt. But it's more powerful to actually get your feet on the earth. So get your feet on the earth, go walk outside, even when the weather isn't perfect. If there's wind whipping around you, perfect for this practice. And as you feel into that wind whipping you, right, this turbulence, this chaos, feel into it. And as I'm just talking right now, you can do this practice, right? I do invite you to go out on the trails and actually do this for yourself, or go find a park, wherever you can get outside with your feet on the earth. Do this, get outside and do it, but also do it now, right? As we're just seated here, hanging out, or maybe you're standing, walking around your house. Feel into this wind that's just like whipping you, right? This turbulence. Feeling into it, embodying it. And as you do it, simultaneously dropping down into that state of grounding. Right? And I'm going to lead you here shortly into a deeper practice. First, kind of warming up here, starting to feel into the energy, is starting to embody them. A little bit of a warm up before we really go deep into practice. So feeling into that wind, whipping you around, right? As you descend down, feel your feet on the earth, you're seeing the chair, find that grounding. And as you find that grounding, knowing you are grounded, feeling into that grounded state, continuing to let that wind whip through you and holding that. Again, this isn't necessarily the most powerful or the most, joyful, feeling good sort of practice, but it's a powerful practice. It's a powerful practice to hold the both and of, yes, life is chaotic. The energy is turbulent. It's whipping me around, but I can stay grounded in it. And even though everything around me is chaos, and even though that chaos is moving through me, I can stay grounded. And in that staying grounded, I can stay centered. I'm here, present, connected into my body. The chaos is whipping around me, but still I'm okay. Whew, how's that practice? All right, guys. Um, mm, let's talk a little bit more about what's going on right now. Last week we passed the spring equinox. Officially we are in spring. And as we really worked in the last live 2 weeks ago, we did that live on the full moon eclipse, which is super fun. We got to talk about some astrology. We got to talk about embodiment within the context of astrology. I'm not an astrologer. I'm not here to teach you like fancy astrology. What I'm here to do is help you tune into what's happening outside of yourself and within yourself. And I love to use astrology as a playground. So when something happens like an eclipse season, it's fun. It's fun and also useful to tune into what's happening, to embody that, and to hold space for how that's practical and useful for your life, right? So 2 weeks ago, we had the full moon eclipse, right? Full moons being a time of release, right? And eclipses being this extra sort of powerful punch. In that video, I spoke to how what that was really doing was ushering us into this sort of eclipse portal, right? We had the full moon 2 weeks ago. And here in a couple days, as I'm recording this, it'll be Saturday, when will it be? The 29th is the new moon. And on the new moon, there will be another eclipse. So eclipse seasons happen twice a year. We're in the first one. We went through the full moon eclipse, this powerful time of releasing, and that's what we did in that live 2 weeks ago. But this Saturday, we're moving into the new moon. The new moon being a time of intention setting. It's a time of new beginnings, right? The new moon is the dark moon. The sun is not shining on the moon. It's dark. It's this time of going inward. It's this time of deepening inward, right? The dark moon, and feeling into this as always, as I say these words, right? The idea is to feel into them, to be present in self, being witness to what's unfolding as I'm saying these words. So, we're in this new moon time, moving into the new moon on Saturday. And at this time, it'll be this sort of going inward so that we can plant seeds. Going inward so that we can plant seeds. And with that, the visual I get is literally that of the soil, right? The soil, the dirt, the earth, being this space of darkness, right? The light is not penetrating down in the soil, in the dirt, in the earth. But this is where we plant our seeds, right? We plant our seeds down in the earth. We go into this space of darkness, this inward space. And it's here, inward, right? Disconnected from the light of the world, disconnected from all that's happening out in the world. We're turned inward. And here, right, down in our own depths, down in our own soil, right, down connected to the earth, being the earth, right, being that soil, that ground, that we can most skillfully plant the seeds that are ready to emerge in this next cycle. So you can do this on every new moon, right? Every moon cycle I like to work with. The new moon being a time of intention setting, planting seeds, what new projects, what new spaces am I ready for? Maybe it's something that's come up that's, something that has to do with healing. Like, I'm really ready to release and heal from this pattern. Or maybe it's a project worth initiating. It's this cycle, me personally, I'm bringing forth these live circles into the world, right? It's a big project. So this has been a time where I've been working with, okay, what do I need to release in myself, right? That was the full moon energy. So that now that we're here, I can plant this new seed. The first circle we're going to have next week, this planting a seed of intention to bring forth these live circles into the world, right? So that's an example. So the practice here is to go inward, to close out everything, all that external stimuli that comes from out there, turn it off, get quiet, be in stillness, and from this space, go within. From this space, going within. And at this point in the practice, if you haven't let go of sort of the other distractions that are going on, I'm inviting you to do so now. Do this practice with me. And the rest of the rest of this video, you may have been just kind of like partly listening while you're doing other things, but this is a time to release all distractions and really tune in here. Really tune in here as we deepen into this practice. So taking a seat, if you haven't taken a seat, find your seat, your root in connection to the chair, first holding you, feeling into that connection with your seat, with your root, with the surface holding you, with the ground holding you. Feeling into that ground. And as you do this, connecting with your deep grounding breaths. With each breath, deeply into self. Taking those breaths deeper into self, down into your chest, and down into your belly, your abdomen. Can you breathe all the way down into your root in connection to the chair below you? Continuing to breathe, descending lower and lower with each breath. Descending lower and lower with each breath. You breathe all the way down into your abdomen, all the way down into your roots. From this space, descending even deeper, down through the chair, down through the floorboards, down through the foundation, down into the earth itself. Maybe you bring to mind dirt, rocks, roots, soil. Allowing a vision to take forth in your mind. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Becoming present to those dirt, rock, roots, soil, what's beneath you. Breathing into this space, connecting into this space. Allowing this space to welcome you in. Connecting into this space as you continue to take those deep breaths. Connecting into these depths, your depths in connection to the earth. Breathing into the space, being with this space. And from this space, continuing to hold some attention here as you start to breathe more fully into self. So you're not severing this connection down with the earthy depths beneath you. You're holding space here as you're breathing more fully into self. You know, bringing some of that attention, that awareness into your physical body. Feeling into the expansion of your belly, your abdomen, your rib cage. Breathing into self as you stay connected to the ground beneath you. And from this space, we're going to ask a very simple question. From this space, holding this grounded connection with self and with earth, ask the question of what seeds you are here to plant. You might hold space for this next moon cycle. You might hold space for the next 6 months. You might hold space for the next year. You might hold space for the next 5 years. Don't let your head get too involved here. You don't need to plan this out. This is an energetic practice. Holding space here. What seeds are you ready to plant? As you are connected into self, down in connection to the earth beneath you. What seeds are you ready to plant? Again, don't let your head get too involved here. This isn't planning. This is allowing the seeds to be planted that you are ready to plant. Allowing the seeds that you are ready to plant to descend from yourself. Maybe they start in your heart, somewhere in your body. The seeds that appear in self descend down through your root, down into the earth beneath you, allowing these seeds to be planted down in the earth, down in your own depths, in connection to the earth. It's going to give you a few moments here for this process to unfold. Maybe you get a lot of visuals. Maybe you get a lot of knowings of what this seed is. Maybe you get nothing. Maybe this is a full-on trusting in what is happening with very little sort of input on what is actually happening. Allowing the seed to be planted as you are connected into self, in connection to the earth beneath you. Just a few more moments here for any last thing to unfold. Asking if there's any last thing to unfold. Maybe as the seed is planted, it immediately starts to sprout. Maybe you plant this seed and gift it some nourishment, some water, some nutrients. Maybe in the planting of the seed, kind of open up your crown, right, that top of your head, and start to let in some light. Maybe you let light descend from up above, down through your crown, down into your chest, your abdomen, down through your root, and down into the earth to illuminate the seed. Not trying to make happen anything to the seed, but allowing the experience that best serves this seed to unfold here. We're going to start to close down this practice. And any last things to happen here as you close down this practice, honoring this practice, maybe filling your heart with gratitude, sending some gratitude from your heart down into the earth, to the seed, to the whole of the earth that will now be nurturing this seed. And starting to release yourself from this seed. The seed has been planted. Planting of the seed has been honored. And now it's time to get out of the way. You can continue to nurture the seed. You can continue to love the seed. You can continue to check in with the seed. But you aren't here to manipulate the seed, to control the seed. The seed is a co-creation. Right? This is your intention. This is your heart, your soul, your will put into this seed in connection with Earth. This is a co-creation with Earth. So rising fully back up into self now. Breathing more fully into self, taking those deep breaths, feeling into the physical expansion in your belly, your chest. Maybe sort of move your shoulders, move your body. Maybe you need to stand up and walk around. Taking your time to come back into your body. Becoming present in the room you are in. Taking your time to do so. Anytime we do this practice that takes our consciousness out of self, it's so important to take our time to return fully into self. You know, maybe you have to rub your arms, your legs, your physical body. Coming fully into self. As I was saying, you know, with these sort of energetic practices, these practices where we're really just getting out of the way. Right? Because everything we do in life, everything we've been taught in life is about how we control, right? How we use our minds to analyze everything and to control everything. And there's an important part of life that has to do with analyzing, you know, using your will to try to create desired outcomes, calling upon logic, calling upon math, science, technology. You know, there's so much space in life for us to bring our heads on board, work through problems, you know, set intentions and create plans to bring those into reality. That's important. And what is also important is that part of the process where we get out of the way, where we get our heads out of the way, where we ground into life outside of our heads, because our heads, our minds, our brains, as powerful as they are self-centered and they are stuck here. They are stuck in these limited views. And as we live in a world with all these humans stuck in these limited views, what we end up in is a world of separation, of isolation, of I have a plan and it's the right plan. I have a belief system and it's the right belief system, which means yours is wrong or yours isn't as good as mine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What we're working on here is moving into a space of connection with that which exists outside of self. And the way we're doing it here is by going directly into the earth herself, connecting with the very ground of our being, which exists as our own sovereign selves, right? Our own sovereign root systems that keeps us held and grounded. And through this space, connecting into the very earth herself, whether that's the land you live on, the earth that holds all of humanity and the whole web of life, however you want to believe you're tuning in. So with this, this recognition that what we just did was a powerful energetic practice. Whether you got a lot out of this, like visuals or knowings, or whether you got very little, what we just did is a powerful energetic practice. And I invite you to continue to work with it. Take time to tune back into the seed, right? The new moon's coming up. Do this practice on the new moon. As we move forward out of this new moon eclipse, continue to check in with the seed. What is this seed? You might hold a practice where you go in really asking questions like, what's here? What am I ready to step into? And maybe this next moon cycle or this next 6-month cycle, kind of eclipses happen in about 6 months. So maybe you think about this eclipse cycle as planning for the next 6 months. We're also here in spring. So maybe it's a project that you're setting up for this summer, this next year, playing into it, making it appropriate for yourself, your life. That's what we do with everything here, right? We're here doing these energetic practices and apply it to your life in a way that is practical for your life. What wounds are you ready to heal? What projects are you ready to bring forth? What transformations are you ready to step into? Who are you ready to become? It's the kind of thing we're working with in this space. Oh, and with that, we're going to start to close down. Got a lot of filling to do today, you guys. I've decided it's time to make an earth embodiment course. Decided that would go hand in hand with these circles we're having. So you can join me live here on YouTube. You can join me live on Zoom. And I'm going to be creating this course so that, you can work through it at your own pace to really, really get a sense, a knowing, embody that which we're doing here in this earth embodiment space. So I'm going to be working on that today. Make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter. I decided I'm going to keep all these circles free for now, even the Zoom ones, but you have to be on my newsletter to get the Zoom link. So make sure on my newsletter, visit upwardslopes.com so that you can have the link to the Zoom calls. If you can't make the Zoom calls live, although I highly encourage you to make the Zoom calls live, if you can't make them live, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to post the whole replay or I might just post the practices. I'm going to have to play a little bit with how I want to do that. But of course, the best thing to do is to join me live. Again, our first call is April 1st. That'll be a Tuesday. And that'll be at the same time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. These live YouTubes are going to continue to be held on Thursdays, most of them at this 11 o'clock time, although next week we are going to need a different time because 11 Mountain Time is when I facilitate my Earth Priestessing Circle inside the Evolving Sisters Network. That one is a little bit more closed off to the public, but if you want to join a Visionary Earth Priestess Circle, go full on diving headfirst into this space, reach out to me and I'll let you know how you can do that. All right, closing down for today. Welcome to spring. Nurture those seeds, tend to those seeds. Don't manipulate them, don't control them, don't make them be what your ego, your limited mind thinks they need to be. establish a relationship with these seeds. Let them teach you, let them guide you as you nurture them. All right. Thanks so much for hanging out today. I look forward to catching you the newsletter next time on the YouTube Live, and most importantly, in those live Zoom circles. Awesome. Catch you guys next time.